So that was the comparison, right?
It lacks luster
Psilocybin
now.
seemed to have
It was way
more
brighter with
sustained
just like the
beneficial effect.
light. Now I just
And
got
they
like,
identified,
let me see
by
if
the
I can
way,
fix
that
it.
anything over a
Let's just
50%
see.
reduction in clinical
Is that
evaluation of
better?
the severity of
Like,
depression,
is the light coming in
that's
better?
widely used
Is
to
this too
evaluate depression
low?
as like a significant response. And once again, this is at the 4-week follow-up. So, they highlight a few additional features of psilocybin that are distinct from ketamine. Most importantly, there's a pretty low adverse event profile, including a pretty low potential for addiction.
I don't even know how to start this one.
And then they also note that the findings reflect the
I guess I
antidepressant
could
effects
say,
of cancer patients who were psychologically suffering, along with a study a smaller study of patients
I
with
don't have an introduction, and that's already been a minute of time, so let's move on. Hello. My name is 29269798. Again, I am here to offer support, and I would like to do so by checking in on a couple points. One being emotional, one being social, and the other being physical. Okay.
I think you're right about the personality. I think they gotta get meaner. I think they gotta get more teeth.
So, first I would like to start off by giving off a small description of myself. I am a registered Republican. I tend to lack empathy for these type of things, so excuse me if you see me numble off into a discrete version. I do try to avert my gaze oftentimes when I feel indiscrepancies about interruptions that might be happening around me, but that's just my instinctual prowess to check in on myself to make sure that I'm okay. These days have not been the most secure in terms of commitment. We have been very shifty on the grid to regard the nation of politics. Honestly, I would like to talk about Donald Trump, but I really don't want to right now. I could talk about the efficacies of the legalities of what's going on right now on censorship and the union, but I don't really want to touch on that topic yet. I think I want to just talk on to the aspect of thumb. Usually I talk about the green thumb, what's going on socially in our environments and in our nation and the country and what's happening, you know, in our situation of what we call awareness in society, or you know, just white thumb, what's going on as a people, and then you know, a thumbs up to just like give like a heads up on what's going on regarding you know the outcomes and the income and what's actually being imported and the extra versions of what's happening psychologically, but more so in commerce. Now, usually I talk about things that have to deal with me, but lately I've been really good. I've been exceptionally behaved. I have really stayed out of the protests to the point where I'm not rioting or looting. I have managed to evade violence for quite some time now. Besides the normal type of interdimensional problems that I might have over the surface of the walls that are between me and my neighbors, other than that, everything's been cool. But as a person, I noticed that there are a lot of discrepancies in our state of emotion. I should have opened this with a prayer. an insert for the Bible, but maybe I'll do that next time or end it that way. I just hope that you can hear me, and I think that I'm coming through clearly because I'm not going to do this more than once. And as I try to relocate the echolocation of the sound that's going on right now, Mason happens. So if it gets too loud or you may not be able to hear me, I hope that I'm projecting loud enough that I'm irking you, because that's the goal here. Because I know the answer to my question, but I'm about to give you the empirical investigation of it, and the outcome I hope does not turn you away. I was stricken with a Great Depression today. I awoke by a loud sound of happiness, and immediately followed by a sudden grimace of depression. It hit me so swell, but it kept me for too long, to the point where I had to start speaking on it. As a person who empathizes with those around me in ecological or zoological aspect, instinctually I can feel that the climate of what's going on in the world right now is much more than just a gravitational pull. It's an emotional one. There are a heavy load passing through the wind, and it sounds perilous to the fact that the weather seems to be down, and I'm not being metaphorical. I might have to take you out of this. You want to leave or you want to stay in? If you're going to be... I need you to be a distraction too, though. So, what was I saying? Depression. I'm a professional, but I'm also a professional. I'm about to be professional. I have a lot of background, a lot of reading, I have credits, I have enough information for me to tell you that I know what's going on. First of all, I would like to say slightly above the normal for average intelligence is necessity to life, and everything's so grunt right now that we are trying to get a descriptive understanding of what the grunt is and not what the emotional intel behind it is. And as we pull ourselves through the system to find out which judgments we should pass, we're no longer passing judgment on the things that matter. So while we are lost and marooned on a state of just occupancy that doesn't really exist anywhere, we leave ourselves in a relevance that keeps us unentertained but bothered by the fact that we don't have the social interactions to keep us in sustainment for so long that we stay in suspense about how longing we are for interaction with other people. It just feels like a 90s flip, you know, a throwback, for real, for real. There is a lot of he said, she said going on right now on the political realm, and a lot of people are getting down about the fact that Donald Trump is not president, but technically he is, but a lot of people are so looking forward to changing the idealization of what America is that they forgot to actually reveal and confess to the fact that they were a part of the problem. And I think that the President-elect Joe Biden has drawn that type of transparency to the playing field. Like, it's literally on the grid right now about how a lot of people were behaving and thought that because Donald Trump was president and after he got out of office that it would just somehow magically go away. But it wound up lingering, and it left a huge wound on society. Not just in America, but a lot of people are really hurt by the fact that we behave in such a way that the rest of the world was looking at us as we were being naive and inappropriate. And domestically, people were looking at a lot of people who were so confused by what to do because we've been through a lot of tribulations as a crowd of people, a union, a country. A lot of people like to talk about how they feel so enslaved to be encapsulated by the fact that they can't get the proper management to provide for themselves and their families. But without giving like a lot of like effort to it, it's just like a minimum deductible to a huge price that they're asking for insurance for. And I understand that that can be a wicked thought to say, because as an impoverished person, you think like, cool, like I need money to do stuff, but you wind up thinking like there's more important things in life than money. Financial freedom is cool, but also mental stability and mental health and physical health, and being able to have manners in life, to have the intelligence to say yes or no without giving so much of a jargon. That type of depression seeps into like oneself on like a whole mental level that's just way beyond just like genetics, because it's multifaceted. Like amongst the crowd, there are different races and different cultures in the same culture that think it's different races and different cultures, but also think that the main shift is that there are different colors and complexions. That complex is the fact that there are just different people with different personalities. I don't know what just happened, but apparently something just popped on my screen telling me that I might be in danger or charging or something like that. But like homicide, like I just don't know what that is, so I'm gonna continue. I felt like I was on a roll, a caster roll. So the emotional state right now is depression. This is an ongoing development that we all knew would happen, who had the right head on their shoulders. Because yeah, there were people who were upset with how their lives were, and they thought that the only way to get themselves out of the darkness was to behave worse than what they were doing. It turns out that that came and slapped them right back in the face, because I usually tell my potentials, like, if the path you take leads back to yourself, then you have traveled nowhere. And if you have priors, why go out and commit those priors in a crowd of people that also have priors, to think that that's the best way to get out of your entrapment? You're just aligning yourself with people who are exactly like you, and there's no growth in that. You won't grow from that. So there can be one point of why you might be depressed. Two, people have wounds back from slavery that happened like 200 years ago that they still can't get over. And I'm not trying to say like I'm underwhelming the situation, but I need y'all to overwhelm me with some exact facts on why you feel the way that you feel. Because as a black man, yes, I feel like I go through the hardships and trials and tribulations of a modern day guy. But as an American, I never feel enslaved or entrapped because I put in the work. So like there are like some areas where gray that if I speak on it, it seems like I'm being misinterpreted because I am of African descent. Yet the priors that present in the cultural appropriation of what it means to be a black male are that we're violent, we don't care, we are really just here to party, we rarely stay out of trouble, and our misdemeanors are that